Hello, my name is April Meadows, and I am a member of Iota Chi Sigma, alumni chapter of Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. Today's book is How Big Is Your Brave by Ruth Soukup. Zippy flopped back and looked up at the stars and the deep, dark sky. I wonder what it's like up there, Zippy said. If I had just one wish, it would be to hop in a rocket and blast off for outer space. Vroom. Not me, said her brother, Gus. I could never go so far from my garden. But when you blast off, I'll cheer for you. The next day, as Zippy and Gus went into town, they passed by a crowd gathered around a sign. Space Camp, launch your own rocket ship. Win ribbons for best in space. Zippy's heart soared. Oh, that would be fun, she said. Sign up, Gus urged. Zippy shook her ears. No, she said. Look at all those big critters. I can't compete with them. Going to space is your big dream, Gus said. Wouldn't space camp be a good step like planting the first seed in a garden? Maybe, Zippy said, but it looks way too scary. Back home, Zippy couldn't stop thinking about space camp. She really wanted to go, but when she thought about those big, smart-looking critters signing up, her whiskers shook. Would they laugh at her? Would they think a little bunny had no business aiming for the stars? Zippy looked up. The first stars were just beginning to shine in the wide sky. Oh, how she wished to someday soar near them. Suddenly, Zippy remembered something her grandma used to say, that your why must be bigger than your fear. She stood up and brushed the dirt from her paws. She'd made her decision. If she wanted to go to space, she had to learn everything she could. Scared or not, she belonged at space camp. Zippy's whiskers trembled when she arrived for the first day of camp. She huddled next to her mom as the campers ran about talking and playing. I keep telling myself to be brave, she whispered, but I'm still scared. Mom gave Zippy back a pat. Being brave doesn't mean you're never scared, she said. Mom, sometimes courage means taking an action even when you feel afraid. Zippy watched as two campers began to build a model of the solar system. She took a deep breath and hopped over to them. I can make Saturn, she offered in a squeaky voice. As she molded clay into a ball and cut out paper rings, Zippy's nervousness vanished. Every morning, the campers learned about space and stars and planets and astronauts. Every afternoon, they worked on their rocket ships. As her rocket ships grew, so did Zippy's confidence. Before long, she was answering questions, asking for help, and making new friends. At home, Zippy read books about famous astronauts. Space camp seemed like lots of work, Gus remarked. I'm just reading these for fun, Zippy said. Once camp is over, I'm starting a space club with my two new friends. Then, will you be a real astronaut, Gus wondered? Zippy smiled. Not yet. Becoming an astronaut takes a lot of studying and hard work, she explained. That's why we're forming the club. We're going to learn as much as we can together. Our camp counselor says it will be easier to keep our eyes on the stars if we help each other. She says it's something called accountability. Wow. After space camp, Zippy carried her rocket ship home to show Gus. He was busy setting up a juice stand to test out his latest concoctions. Your rocket ship sparkles like the sun, Gus said, as he swooped the rocket through the air. Careful, said Zippy. Suddenly, Gus tripped in. Crash, splash. Zippy's rocket ship landed in the dirt, crumbled, and covered with juice. I'm sorry, Gus said. My perfect rocket ship, Zippy cried. It's ruined. After dinner, Zippy nibbled on lettuce and looked sadly at her crackled, messy rocket ship. Mom offered to help her fix it. Dad did too. Gus volunteered to repaint it. Zippy shook her ears. There's no point. I'm not going to launch day tomorrow, she said. I'm done with space camp. Dad looked over at the rocket. Such a beautiful creation, and now it's broken, he said. Unfortunately, we can't change that. Zippy slumped. No kidding. But you can change one thing, Dad continued, and that's what you're going to do about it. Bad things happen sometimes, and when they happen to you, only you can decide how to react. You can choose to give up or choose to keep going. It's all up to you. Zippy nodded. She knew what she had to do. Zippy curled up in her room next to her books. She looked at the pictures of astronauts who came before her. I guess they didn't give up easily, so I won't either, she thought. Time to get back to work. Zippy found some thick paper and created new fins for her rocket ship. You could paint it silver, Dad suggested. That would add some sparkle to your ship. Zippy munched on a carrot. I have another idea, she said. Zippy arrived for launch day, nervous but excited. She was happy to see her space camp friends and admire their rocket ships. They were all beautiful, but Zippy's swirling purple and orange design really stood out. It's lovely, the teacher said. Were you inspired by the colors of Jupiter? Zippy smiled at Gus. No, I was thinking of my brother's garden. He grows the beets and the carrots. Well, that explains the name, the teacher said with a laugh. The critters launched their rocket ships one by one. Zippy's veggie vroom sailed to second place, and thanks to her unique paint job, she received a blue ribbon for the most creative design. That evening, Zippy and Gus flipped back and looked up at the stars. Do you still want to hop in a rocket ship and blast off to outer space someday? Gus asked. More than ever. And I wish you would come with me. Only if the rocket ship has a garden, Gus said. Great idea, said Zippy. Astronauts need lots of food in space. How big is your brave? Thank you for listening to my story. I hope you enjoyed it. Please visit our website to listen to more stories.